we've got a quick little chat for you today because Alonso and I are going to meet in person in a few
Again?
hours to re-enter Danger Zone. I'm so pumped. I know you're not as excited about this as I am. I'm so pumped for Top Gun today.
There's something about a sequel that comes 36 years after the original where you're kind of like, why are we here? But okay, whatever.
It's time.
We'll see what happens.
I'm ready. So we're seeing Top Gun and we'll do a little quick reaction to that afterward. And we'll have that for you once the embargo lifts in a couple of days.
Yeah.
But in other blockbuster news, Doctor Strange had just a gigantic opening. It made $185 million in North America. It made more on its Friday night, its opening night, than the original Doctor Strange made over its entire opening weekend.
Yikes.
Well, it made $90 million on Friday. The first Doctor Strange made 85 over the course of an entire weekend.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look and see what else was competing with the first Doctor Strange, because this one pretty much had the field to itself.
Everyone cleared away for sure. So some more numbers for you. It made $265 million internationally for a global total of $450 million in its opening weekend. That is the fifth biggest MCU opening. It is the biggest opening of 2022. It is the seventh biggest Marvel opening, and it's the biggest jump between first and second Marvel movies. Yes.
Golf clap.
Golf clap. Yeah. So I'm guessing a lot of you went inside. If so, let us know. We did a spoiler-free review last week. We have spoilers for you today. So beware, you've been warned, but come on in and join us.
Yes, if you're listening to this as a podcast, and you don't want the spoilers, hit stop when the news is done.
That's a good point. Also, in other blockbuster news, it feels like summer, right? It kind of feels like maybe it's a normal summer with giant movies because the Avatar teaser is now out in the world for your online consumption. We saw it last week, did a little short on it, but it's out there. Have you seen it? If so, what do you think? The Na'vi, they're still blue and flying on stuff.
It's interesting that they made it a point to, at least for the weekend, have it be something that was exclusively in theaters. And it turns out that there are theaters where you can see Doctor Strange in 3D. I was not aware of this beforehand. So if you saw it on the big screen, if you saw it on the big screen in 3D, obviously a much different experience than watching it on YouTube. And I think that is the selling point for this. I think, after Avatar became such a massive success, all these movies got produced into 3D for, usually it was a bad idea. But for a while there, it was this idea of, we have to make a movie that people have to see in theaters. And so that's, I think Gravity, that was one of the big reasons why that was a hit, because it was like, yes, older demo that usually waits for Netflix. You got to hustle your butt into a theater if you want the full sort of grandeur of this thing.
The sound.
Exactly. And I'd say that applies to this trailer. If you want the full oomph of it, you kind of have to see it on the big screen. Indeed.
There's going to be a Dirty Dancing sequel.
Yes.
I've had the time of my life again.
No, I'm pumped. I just did a rewatch with my co-hosts at Maximum Film, and the fact that they're getting Jennifer Grey back, I think, is exciting because we had Havana Nights, we had the made-for-TV remake, but this seems like it's going to be sort of canon.
Indeed, it is the Jennifer Grey cinematic universe, and so it takes place at Kellerman's again.
Yeah.
Now it's the 90s.
Yeah, and so I hope that means that Kellerman's is a shadow of its former self, because resorts like that did not fare well going into the 70s and 80s. So it should be a ghost town, frankly.
A hotbed of racism and sexism in its day. Back when you could do that kind of shit, but Jennifer Grey is here to continue shaking things up.
That's right. And I'll tell you, talking about the conversation that's happening right now, the first Dirty Dancing is a very unapologetic movie about abortion and why it should be safe and legal and accessible. So it'll be curious to see if they delve into that again for the sequel.
Yes, that is part of the baby's transformation. Her journey is opening her eyes to that. So that is that. We've got some bad behavior for you. Couple of folks getting fired. Fred Savage has been fired from the Wonder Years. Now, he has been behind the scenes. Of course, the original Wonder Years was a show that put him on the map in the 80s as an adorable child star. Now he has been a director for a really long time. I think he's a director and a producer on this Wonder Years reboot. He has been accused but by a few different people, of like inappropriate behavior on set involving like costume designers and things like that.
Yeah. You know, look, I think there are people who get very knee jerk about this kind of stuff and immediately think, oh, it's, you know, these women are out trying to make a name for themselves or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't think that the Wonder Years show is going to like fire Fred Savage lightly. Like there has to be some there, or they would not be, you know, I don't think they would have taken that step.
And then you have Frank Langella getting fired as the lead in this upcoming Netflix series, The Fall of the House of Usher, based on the Edgar Allan Poe story. He was the lead. He was Raymond Usher, and
Roderick.
I'm sorry, but thank you, Roderick. Yes, and he is accused of some inappropriate behavior during a love scene. I guess, you know, there's touching that occurred that perhaps was not agreed to ahead of time with the help of an intimacy coordinator. Like he touched his co-star's leg. They don't name who it is, but he touched someone's leg. And then there's other stuff too. There was like joking around, like, you know, he's 84 years old, right? Sure. He's been around for a long time. It was a different time. And so I guess when they spoke to him on set about this complaint, he was super defiant, and then he was fired. And then he went on to write this column in Deadline, this totally defiant column, which leads with, I have been canceled.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a very different reaction than, say, Bill Murray had to the, you know, complaints about him and his on-set behavior on this Aziz Ansari movie. He seemed to show some interest in growth. He said, I want to learn. I want to have a conversation with this person. I feel terrible. Like things I used to think were funny maybe aren't anymore. Whereas Frank Langella's like, screw all of y'all. Don't dare cancel me.
Yeah. I mean, you read the Langella essay, and obviously that is his POV for what went down and how things happened. And, you know, yes, part of it is, could this have been handled better by all parties? Absolutely. But yeah, okay. Langella is an elder statesman of you know, acting, but like, dude, read the room. You know, like you've had the Harvey Weinstein stuff happened several years ago now. There is a change in the air, and if there is an intimacy coordinator, you might think it's bullshit, and you might think that it's going to impede your method as an actor, blah blah blah. But there is one, and you have to abide by the stuff that was laid down in that thing. Just like anybody in any job, you know, you have to sit through the HR lecture, and then you have to actually apply it. And if you don't, they're like, well, you sat through the HR lecture and you signed the thing, and now you didn't do it, so fuck you. So I mean, yeah, is Frank Langella a great actor? Yes. Does Frank Langella need to get his shit together and understand what acting in the 21st century is and how to behave on sets? I think also yes.
Bruce Greenwood has been hired to replace him, so he just won't be in it at all. Whatever they shot, they're having a reshoot.
And he said they had like 3 weeks left, so they got to start this thing over basically. If he's Usher, you know,
it's a big cast. It's a big Netflix series. It's a big cast. And so now, because Christopher Plummer was not available, we get Bruce Greenwood. So that's happening. I also have some good news for you. Michelle Williams is pregnant with her third child. She did a big interview with Variety and talked about how she is due in the fall. She is married to Thomas Kail, who is a director that she worked with on Fosse Verdon.
Nice.
And she already has her daughter with Heath Ledger is now 16. Wow. And then she and this husband of hers now have a little boy who was born in 2020, early pandemic days. And so she's due again. And I would not personally want to have another child at 41, but good for her.
More power to her. Yeah. No, Mazel Tov. Yeah, she's in the new Kelly Reichardt movie, which is about to premiere at Cannes, which I'm very excited to see. God, I feel old that Matilda is that old, just because I interviewed Heath Ledger for Brokeback Mountain when Matilda had just been born, and he was very excited about being a new father. And so that was a long time ago now.
Oh man. Well, Mazel Tov, Michelle Williams.
Yeah.